Let's talk about the differences between the Squeeze Pro version of the Squeeze and then my version here, the Big 3 Squeeze. Alrighty, what's up guys? Taylor from Simpler Trading. Let's talk about the differences between the Squeeze Pro version of the Squeeze and then my version here, the Big 3 Squeeze. Big 3 standing for trend, structure, and the momentum. But my squeeze progression call it started back about 10 years ago with the free version, the OG original Gangster Squeeze. From there, I worked into the Pro version and then took all that experience and eventually built out my own version. The goal there being try to fill in a few holes and just make my job of trying to accomplish what I want to accomplish with these squeezes a little bit easier. But like I mentioned, it all began with the free version. So if you're new to the squeeze, I did a free class here on the free version. And this will give you a good rundown on the indicator basics, basics on the squeeze, the entries, exits, and we hook you up with a couple of scans, a chart label, and I believe a checklist. 2 checklists. So check it out. I'll put a link in the description for that. But otherwise, Squeeze Pro versus Big 3 Squeeze. Here we go. Okay, so we'll start here with the Squeeze Pro, which we have on the left, and the calling card here of the Squeeze Pro is that it shows you different levels of compression. And don't forget, that's all the squeeze is. The average true range is tightened, the price action, the volume, implied volatility, everything's tightened up to a point we have a compression phase, which is very much like a coiled spring. They build up all the energy in the compression phase, followed by that you have the expansion phase, and as that squeeze fires, they release the energy. Again, all those basics in the free class. But yeah, so for the Squeeze Pro, you have your black dots, your red dots, and your orange dots. And those are your different levels of compression. So your black dot is your low compression. And those are your loosest settings. Your red dot, which is the original squeeze signal, that is your mid compression squeeze. And then the orange dot there, of course, is your high compression. And those are by far your tightest settings. Now, for my version here, the Big 3, my compression puts us what I think is a sweet spot, right between a low compression and a mid compression squeeze. So I'm kind of nestled in here between the two. But yeah, in a nutshell, that is the calling card of the Squeeze Pro. Versus the original squeeze, it shows you low compression, mid compression, high compression. Think the tightness of the squeeze, which can be helpful. You find the black dot squeeze, all right, it's a little bit looser. Things are tight but not too tight. The red dot would be your OG squeeze. Time tested and proven. And then the orange dots, your high compression. They can admittedly be a little bit funky. But yeah, so that's a quick rundown there on the Squeeze Pro. And then your momentum bars, those are the same as the original version. Light blue is bull momentum on the up and up. Dark blue is still bullish. Little bit of a decline. Red bar is bearish and getting worse. Yellow is we are still bearish, but a little bit on the up and up. Okay, so like I mentioned, I kicked it off with the original version. Then I went over to the Squeeze Pro. I got the low compression, the mid compression, the high compression. And what I found again is the squeeze makes for a great foundation. It can do for you what I think is really important for all traders. It gives you that one thing to focus on. But then the job becomes, I want to take that squeeze, and I want to get really good at calling for timing and direction. Do I think the squeeze breaks long, and when do I think it breaks long? Do I think the squeeze breaks short? When do I think it breaks short? And then better yet, if I think a squeeze does neither, how do we know when to avoid that? So what I built up over the years of trading the squeeze, the original version and the Pro version, was 15 different things I'm looking for in terms of, all right, if all of this trend criteria, structure, and momentum criteria, if these 15 different things line up, that to me offers a lot of edge in terms of calling for timing and direction. That became the Big 3 squeeze system. So on my end here, and these are both daily charts for APP, which has earnings in a few days, so, hold judgment on the old APP. I'm not buying it. But anywho, so on my version here, the Big 3 squeeze, the first thing we have are labels for trend, structure, momentum. Again, that stands for the Big 3, and that builds up the entire system. That's my checklist, and for the daily squeeze here on APP, we have a green momentum label, we have a green structure label, and a green trend label. Green is bullish. That tells me things are pretty well aligned here for a move higher. And like I mentioned, 15 different things I'm looking for. That's my big three score system. That label says big three score of 15. I've got everything I'm looking for. All of the trend criteria, all of the structure, the positioning of the moving averages, the direction of the moving averages, momentum. When I find those 15 different things inside of a squeeze, in my book, that's called an A+ setup. So that label goes green, and we get a white arrow down here on the squeeze histogram. And like I mentioned, these are what I found make these squeezes tick. Compression from your squeeze, all of your trend criteria, good structure, momentum. That can make for a really good numbers game to play. You know, one good way to look at it, if we run a basic scan here for... All right, so here's a basic scan for show me daily squeezes trading above their 21 EMA. And we got some basic price criteria, volume, market cap. But again, show me squeezes above their daily 21 EMA. Without any additional trend criteria structure. And based on that, right now, we have 21 different names. All right, if we go to my scan, which incorporates all that big three criteria, and we look for a daily squeeze with the same price, market cap, and volume criteria, we go from 21 names on that basic squeeze scan. All right, give me daily squeezes above their 21 EMA, and then we apply all the big three criteria. We go from 21 names to 7. Take it one more step further. In terms of which of these offers a really good entry, we go from 21 to 7 and then down to 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 daily squeezes, all that criteria, offering what I think is a great entry. One of them being, again, the APP here. So yeah, that makes my job so much easier in terms of, all right, I have found a squeeze on a weekly time frame, a 15-minute, a 30-minute, a monthly chart. And then I don't have to go through the entire checklist, throw on all the moving averages, put on the MACD. I don't got to look at all that. The indicator does that for me. Makes my job super easy. I only buy the squeezes with the white arrow. So if we look at maybe the example here of the Google monthly squeeze, right, we can take some basic criteria, show me squeezes above their rising 21 EMA. That can be a piece of a decent foundation, but it's also a little bit a dime a dozen. You look for that on pretty much any time frame, you're going to find a lot of results. So on my version, here's our monthly squeeze, and then better yet, we have a green arrow. What the green arrow means is, hey, you got a squeeze, you've got all 15 of our criteria, and the entry's pretty much at the sweet spot. Not too far from that 21 EMA. So when that happens, we get a green arrow, and then that label over here goes green. All right, let's go look at maybe a monthly chart on the semiconductors. White arrow, 15 points out of 15. Till things change, that makes for an A+ setup. And what I found is, if I find a squeeze of the 15 things, in my experience, in our experience here in the room, there is about a 70% chance they break it out for a push towards that third ATR target. And then we have another example here on the weekly chart for the Bitcoin futures. And that's a great thing about the squeeze. Monthly time frames, 15-minute, 30-minute, hourly, weekly. Equities, options, futures. She is universal. But all right, Bitcoin futures here. So on the Pro version, if you take the basic teachings, they have you getting long with your momentum bar above 0 and price above your 21 EMA. That has you getting long about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks before the big push. My preference, my personality, I want to find a squeeze. I want to buy the thing on Monday, and then ideally I'm getting my paycheck by Friday. So on the Big 3 version, right, here's your squeeze, and you're waiting. You finally get the white arrow. There's your trigger. Compression from your squeeze, alignment, good trend, momentum, structure. The fixins, my friends, for a big push. Then think about a lot of us being options traders. Granted, no options here on the Bitcoin futures, but if this is a weekly chart for, say, NVIDIA, it does me no good to jump in and buy my calls back here. And then a week goes by, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 weeks goes by, and then they eventually get around to getting the breakout going. We've been holding on for too long, too much mental capital. Our calls are getting crushed from the theta. very big part of profitable and what I would call aggressive trading, timing and direction. So yeah, for me, this has been a game changer, and it's made my job as a full-time trader as simple as I only get long or short when I got that white arrow. So a few basics there on the Big 3 squeeze versus the Squeeze Pro. And, I don't think it's a matter of which one is better, which one is... Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of which one is better. It's a little bit more the design to do two different things. Squeeze Pro shows you levels of compression. My squeeze shows you, based on all of my criteria, when things are fully aligned for a push higher, a push lower, or none of the above. So that is that, my good friends. Again, we have the free squeeze class on the original version. Be sure to check it out, send it to a friend. That'll help you kick it off with that same foundation I had about 10 years ago. Then, of course, you can look at the Squeeze Pro, take a look at my version, which you have a few updates in the works on. But yeah, I get that question a lot. What are the differences? Which one is better? And, for me, of course, since I built it, this one is... My version does a job I'm looking for. So thank you all for watching. Hope you found it helpful, and I hope to see you in one of the rooms trading any version of the Squeeze sometime soon. Adios.